Mr. Chairman, Dr. Nasser Al-Ani, dear members of the board of SAF, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a special pleasure to address this august audience today in this beautiful city, Allentown. This audience is dear to my heart as well as to your motherland, Syria, because you are the most energetic, active Syrian American community all over the United States of America. So we are proud of you guys. And we are thankful to all of you for keeping all the bridges with your motherland, Syria. I'm especially proud to address the new generation, or the second or the third generation of Syrian Americans living in Allentown. And here I am addressing myself to the young people, of course. So we are deeply honored as Syrians to have you all as excellent ambassadors of your motherland in the United States of America, your new country. Usually I prefer to improvise. I guess most of you know how I interact with the public, with the audience. So in most cases I prefer to improvise, but today I have prepared some introductory remarks to trigger a kind of interactive dialogue that would take place later on. So I will try to be short in my statement so that we would give you enough time to answer your questions. Your coexistence and active participation in the multiple American society is a great example on the fact that Syrians have always been international citizens, able to adapt wherever they live. I was 15 years ago ambassador to Indonesia, and I was covering from Indonesia many countries where we didn't have embassies, such as Australia at that time, New Zealand, the Philippines, Brunei, etc., etc. So one day I got instructions from the government to go to New Zealand, to a city called Auckland, which is not the capital. It is the second most important city in New Zealand. My instructions were to open an honorary consulate for Syria in New Zealand. Before going there, I thought that I might go there and see a couple hundred Syrians living there. I was totally surprised upon my arrival to Auckland to see that there are in this small city at least 15,000 Syrians living in Auckland. I got shocked. I didn't expect that big number, to be there. And you know, New Zealand is the last land before you get into the Pacific. When I asked some of the Syrian New Zealand community when the first Syrian immigrant did arrive to New Zealand, the answer was 1858. There were no jumbo jet at that time. There were no Airbus. There were no ships even that go to that far to the southeast of Asia. But the early Syrian immigrants did it and found it suitable for their livelihood to go there and to start initiating a new type of life and getting new citizenship thousands of miles away from their motherland. So this is an indication of itself about how the Syrian spirit is open-minded and how ambitious the Syrian mind is. I was reading the other day about the efforts to maintain what used to be called Little Syria in New York City. It was the neighborhood to where your ancestors arrived to the United States in the late 19th century. Little Syria is the name that was given to an area in downtown of Manhattan, which is now replaced by the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel and its direct neighborhood. This area used to be called the Little Syria. And from there, most of the Syrians, after the tunnel was built, most of the Syrians who used to live there moved to Brooklyn. So the Syrian American community that lives in Brooklyn now came, initially speaking, from what used to be called Little Syria. It was the neighborhood to where your ancestors arrived to the United States in the late 19th century. And from New York, they went all around this country, working as doctors, engineers, professors, lawyers, and many other professions that contributed to the success of the United States of America. According to the Syrian government statistics, we may have in the United States almost between 30 to 40,000 physicians, between 30 to 40,000 Syrian physicians, thousands of engineers, thousands of teachers, university teachers, academicians, thousands of laborers, all kinds of professions. And to be honest with you, I have been conducting this diplomatic business for almost 34 years, and I was posted in many countries. I have never heard in 34 years any complaint coming from any police station, wherever I was, against any Syrian living abroad. The Syrians are hard workers, serious, and they never break the laws. And this is something that we should acknowledge wherever we go. We should be proud of our heritage, proud of our personalities, proud of our characters. The Syrians is not about only an identity. It's about a mindset and a culture and a behavior. I'm telling the truth that in 34 years of my career, I never heard any serious problem with any Syrian living abroad, and I was posted in 4 continents, and I know what I'm talking about because this is a fact, this is reality. It is something interesting to have a productive Syrian community across the Atlantic, based in this huge and important country, which is the United States of America. You are a bridge that can be essential in showing the bright side of our great Syrian culture, and your role is fundamental in presenting the real and the true image of the situation in Syria, which is under attack by terror forces that want to bring Syria back to the day of Jahiliyyah, which means gentility, the pre-Islamic dark phase that was prevailing in our area. And your role is crucial after Syria passes the recent crisis, inshallah. This role will be embodied through your participation in the reconstruction efforts that the country of your ancestors will need. Syria has a population of 23 million, as you know, living inside Syria. But we do have 23 other millions living abroad. So we are a big nation. We have millions of Syrians living abroad. 23 million is not a simple figure. This is a huge figure. And that represents, that indicates how far the Syrian community is strong outside of Syria, as well as the Syrians themselves inside of Syria. You know that Syria is known to be the land where civilization started. The Christian world started with St. Paul of Damascus. Without St. Paul, the Christianity wouldn't arrive to Rome, wouldn't spread all over the world. Damascus was the starting point for the spreading of Christianity through St. Paul, and our father here would confirm what I am saying. In the middle of the great Umayyad mosque in Damascus lies the shrine of John the Baptist, the Prophet Yahya. The first Islamic state in history took Damascus as its capital. The three heavenly religions have lived together in total harmony and coexistence on the land of Syria for thousands of years. By the way, the oldest synagogue, Jewish synagogue in the world, is in the neighborhood of Damascus, in an area, in the outskirts of Damascus, an area called Jobar. Unfortunately, you are hearing a lot about it these days. And this synagogue was burned down, and its content was stolen and unfortunately sold out in the streets of Beirut by the gangs and the thugs, by people who do not know the value of our common heritage. Of course, by the way, hundreds of churches and mosques were destroyed also by the same gangs and the same thugs. The same people who kidnapped the two priests, the two bishops recently, and the same guys who killed the son of the Mufti of Syria. All around Syria, the churches lives next door to the mosque, and the sound of Muslim azan, or call for prayer, resonates along the sound of church bells. Syria has given 4 emperors to the Roman Empire, namely Elagabalus, Severus Alexander, Philip I and Philip II. Philip I is well known by his Arabic name, Philip the Arab. In addition to one of the greatest architects and engineers of the Roman Empire, who was Apollodorus of Damascus, Syria is also the main station on the historical Silk Road before entering Europe. I'm just refreshing your memory about how solid your background is and how proud you should be of yourselves as well as of your common heritage. Syria may be small in size nowadays. The demography, the population of Syria might be not equally big population like Egypt, for instance, or Turkey or Iran, among our direct neighbors. Syria might not have the same economic heavyweight or financial heavyweight compared to other countries and nations in the area. But we are extremely well known for different kind of capitals. Capitals, assets, I mean, not the capitals of a country, the assets. We have solid assets, and I will speak about it later on. Syria, dear friends, and throughout history has offered a safe home to all those who are oppressed or seeking refuge. Many cultures and people lived in harmony among the Syrians in a peaceful environment that does not know any tension or antagonism. Syria has the Syrian Armenians, Syrian Circassians, in addition to Syrians from Albanian and Central Asian origins. Syrians of all backgrounds live in a society that has never been identified or marked by extremism, intolerance, or hatred. I will tell you a story about an Armenian general who served in the Syrian army after the war of 1948. He was the head of the artillery, and he participated at the war of 48. Then, before dying, he wrote his will. And in his will, he asked his kids, his children, to cut his body into 2 pieces, to bury one piece in Armenia and the other piece in Aleppo. And that was done. That was an Armenian Syrian, or Syrian Armenian. He got it. That man got it, what Syria is about. And unfortunately, 65 years after him, there are still ignorants who do not know how Syria is important to defend, and how the Syrians should be proud of themselves in spite of all odds. We have problems. We need to solve the problems. Radically speaking, yes, but we don't need to commit collective suicide.